Hello, I'm Jessica Luisos, a project engineer with Mylona McBroom. I'm here to give you a plan overview of the Camp Wihakowi Dam Removal project as part of the pre-bid process for the project. Please make sure to refer to the plans themselves. I'm just going to be going over some of the highlights and the unique items of the project. So I want to make sure you don't miss any of the other details included in the plans. Thank you. Plans are dated December 5th, 2019. A PDF has been distributed along with the bid documents. North is towards the dam, which is on the right side of the plans, as indicated here. The river flows from left to right. The project is off of Bull Run Road in Northfield, Vermont, and there's an existing gravel access road that leads down to the project site. Please refer to the accompanying photo tour video for additional information on existing conditions. The dam will be removed down to bedrock, generally in this area. The pool will be removed completely and regraded, including removal of fill around the pool. Adjacent to the pool area, there's a shed and deck that will remain, as well as a treehouse area and items stored under the treehouse that will remain adjacent to the staging area. As part of the project, there will be an informal bridge, as well as a rock ford, some informal steps kind of connecting existing paths in the woods, as well as existing paths through the project area. Sediment excavation and haul will be from the entire area indicated with the grass hatch. And a river pilot channel will be excavated kind of through the project area, as well as small channels connecting from the edge of the woods over to the new channel. The construction plan shows a general sequence that you can follow. Before construction begins, the selected contractor will submit their sediment and erosion control plan, water control plan, and the sequence, or use the one provided here. The staging area is archaeologically sensitive and will need to be covered with construction manning so that the ground will not be disturbed. The access road will need some upgrades, including 2 new cross culverts, as well as some new gravel application. Gravel can be used from the excavation area of the project. I'd like to point out that all access will need to be through the existing gravel access road. No access directly to the dam will be allowed directly from Bull Run Road. Most of the sediment to be removed in the removal area is now dry and can be accessed by installing culverts across the existing channel and crossing. A lot of the excavation can be done, leaving the flow in the current channel for the first phases of removal. Knotweed contaminated soils should be removed first. See the notes on invasive species handling. The dam and sediment removal will need to be incremental to bring one down and then the other, so that the dam will hold back sediment during removals and be part of both the water control and sediment control for the project. Water management is expected to be possible using sediment berms to direct flow away from the active work areas. So looking at the restoration plan, the contractor will be responsible for providing and planting the ball and burlap sized trees. There are additional trees listed in the planting table that the contractor will not be required to provide, and those include the bare root and live stakes. Others will be putting in the bare root trees and live stakes following construction. Note that there's a special seed mix. It has a long lead time and is more costly than many typical seed mixes, so I want to bring your attention to that. And the fact that the special seed mix will be mixed with an annual seed and also applied at the same time. On the profile sheet, you can see the dam in this area, as well as the bedrock located downstream and around the dam. We've shown upstream of the dam in the impoundment both the existing sediment level as well as the river center elevation. So the dark line indicates the thalweg location, or the center of the pilot channel at each location along the channel. The idea with showing the profile is that it really gives it puts the project site into the larger context of the river, and the elevations shown in the profile are also shown on the following cross sections. So moving on to the cross-section sheets, the dam elevation is shown. I'm going to show that a little bit closer up on the next slide, but we're starting to get into the real details on the dam, river, and floodplain cross-sections and how they should be built. So zooming in on cross-section 1, CS-1, to look at the dam area in more detail. These two cross-sections show the dam kind of in its existing state, as well as the sediment accumulated upstream of the dam is shown in the upper cross-section, as well as the bedrock that's visible under the dam. The lower cross-section view shows the entire dam to be removed. You can see that it's down to bedrock, with the idea that all of the bedrock would stay in place. The removal of the dam would be done incrementally to bring the dam down, along with the sediment in stages. That's going to need to be carefully controlled to make sure that we don't have a huge sediment release during the construction process. CS-1 also shows the sediment removal cross-sections towards the bottom of the page. You can see with the speckled hatch the sediment that has been mapped at the site based on sediment probing that we completed. You can see the dark, thick black line indicates the final grade or the excavation depth, as well as some shaping to create what we've called the pilot channel on the proposed conditions plan, and the components of that including a 30-foot wide bankful channel, and then within that a 10-foot wide low flow channel. What we're doing here is really creating a natural river, so although this shows some pretty exact dimensions and very flat lines, we want to be able to leave this naturally flowing. So, there's a little bit of variation to create roughness and a riverbed. We have some details that I'm going to get into in a few minutes on what that's going to look like. There's additional cross sections on CS-2 moving upstream. These give, as I said, a general idea of sediment depths, dimensions, and dimensional guidelines as the excavation would be occurring. Zooming in a little closer on CS-2 to the pool cross-section at River Station 14 plus 62. The upper piece here gives a little bit of an idea in cross-section of the pool area. You can see the pool indicated with the rectangle, as well as the shed and adjacent deck that will remain. At the shed and deck, you would excavate as much of the sediment and fill from under and kind of around the deck as you can to create a sloping drainage or floodplain surface indicated with the dark line, while leaving the shed and decking. At the pool, all of the pool, including all concrete and all piping, will be removed. This includes what would eventually be underground. So, even the bottom of the pool would be removed and hauled off site. Then the fill around the pool would be removed, and some of that could be used to fill the bottom of the pool hole to create a gentle slope across the new floodplain to the river. So moving towards the bottom of the slide, you can see some information about the ford. The idea with the ford is that it's still a river. There's a river cross section, but the bank slopes on both sides would be a little bit lower slope so that a vehicle could enter without having a steep drop off. The bottom of the river in this location and on the sloping banks would have an application of on-site cobble material that would be just selectively chosen to choose some of the larger cobble, grapefruit or basketball-sized rocks, so that we don't wind up with a really sandy or soft bottom in this location. So it wouldn't require bringing in off-site materials to create this ford. It's really just part of the channel shaping. So starting to look at some of the details. The first page of details shows sediment and erosion control and water handling items, as well as the cross culvert that would go into the access road improvement. Detail sheet 2 shows a lot of information about the river itself. This project is a restoration project, so we want to make sure to leave the river in the best possible position to recover to its natural condition, which means that we don't want to leave the river especially vulnerable to erosion or very smooth. So there's some information about placement of natural river materials from on site in the river to create some of the roughness. This includes saving some logs and woody material to selectively place into the river as well. There's also information in the typical cross section or the typical channel section and typical channel dimensions detail about the size of the channel, both for Bull Run as well as the small tributaries. The pedestrian trail bridge, there's a detail on DET-2. This is a relatively informal trail bridge. You can see the materials that we're suggesting it be made out of. There are some utility poles located on the site. The landowner said there's 5 or 6 of them that could be used for creating the bridge. There is an existing bridge on site. It's not in a condition to be used or reused as is. The dimensions, location, and attachments are specific here to reduce flood vulnerability, but some of the materials from the existing bridge could be reused if they are found to be, according to this specification. A large portion of the project is sediment haul and removal. We've estimated about 26,000 cubic yards of sediment that will be removed from the dam impoundment, located generally in this area. The landowner will have some of the sediment placed on existing gravel driveway and parking areas located on the property. Those are highlighted in yellow on this map. Those are all existing gravel areas where the selected contractor will selectively choose good quality sand and gravel, haul that material up onto the existing gravel areas and spread it approximately 1 to 2 feet deep across the existing gravel areas. We've estimated this to be about 0.6 acres and 1,000 to 1,500 cubic yards are estimated to go to this location. It's going to be important to make sure that none of the material that goes up onto these driveway areas contain invasive species. So this is part of the invasive species handling on the project to make sure that it does not go to this area. We'd also like to make sure that at the end of each day that the landowners would be able to access their homes and buildings, so that at the end of the day the contractor would need to roll over and feather out any existing work they're doing up there so the landowners can make that access. The majority of this sediment will be hauled to an off-site location that has been permitted as part of the project. The project site on the map here, shown in pink, is the impoundment area the sediment will be excavated out of. You can see red arrows along Bull Run Road onto 12 and up around the corner onto Winch Hill Road. The fill site is located at 868 Winch Hill Road. The contractor will be required to haul to this location and dump. The landowner of the fill site will be managing all on-site sediment management and making sure to have an available location for the contractor to be able to dump, turn around and leave the site. The landowner is expecting that any of the invasive species contaminated soils are hauled first, so it will be the responsibility of the contractor to identify, dig out first, and haul any of the invasive species contaminated soils, so that then the landowner at the fill site would be able to bury those knotweed soils with the remainder of the clean sediment. We have an estimate of 26,000 cubic yards of sediment. We understand that that volume may be a little off, so in the lump sum bid item, please assume that the volume includes plus or minus 10%. And also please provide a cubic yards estimate, a cost per cubic yard estimate for any of the river sediment that falls outside of that plus or minus 10%.